Hi everybody, this is Liam Martin from Running Remote, and in today's video, I have my La Croix. Unfortunately, it is not the tea, but I had to make this video this week. I've been back from Running Remote for a couple months now, and there's been some stuff that's going on. You probably know what this video is going to be about based off of the title, and this is something that I just need to get off my chest. I think that there has been some really nasty stuff happening over the last 2 to 3 years in the digital nomad community. I consider myself a digital nomad, so this is something that was near and dear to my heart, and I just want to discuss a couple of things that I've seen happening and some warnings to brand new digital nomads who might be interested in this type of lifestyle, that what you should and shouldn't do and who you should be paying attention to. So let's get right into it. So there's an article by Ian Lloyd, and I'll link it up. It's Bali Holiday, the shock reality of digital nomad lifestyle. And this is something that really kind of blew up around Running Remote when we were putting on the conference. We had this issue where we basically have always had a bit of a problem with letting digital nomads come to the conference en masse. So we don't necessarily say you can't come as a digital nomad. We believe that everyone should be able to come, but we're not specifically doing any talks about digital nomadism. And that's actually a bit of a shame, because we've really wanted to actually talk about digital nomadism at Running Remote, but there's been somewhat of a damage, I believe, to the movement over the last few years that I would like to discuss. So the biggest one is in this article by Ian at news.com. He talks about how about more than 1/3 of digital nomads make less than $15,000 a year. And that was completely different from even a few years ago, where digital nomads were probably making 2 to 3x more than what they're currently making today. Michael Craig, who is the owner of Dojo Bali and is also someone that spoke at Running Remote. And he's basically, with him and Steve, who was also another very influential person for getting Running Remote off the ground. Those are kind of like the OGs of the co-working spaces and industry in Bali, and then by extension, the digital nomad movement. So Michael has a quote in this article, which is, he believes the proliferation of the drop shipping conferences in Chiang Mai and just in the greater digital nomad space in general has really kind of destroyed and sullied the digital nomad movement in Asia. And this is his quote: "These guys charge $5,000 to teach you how to sell avocado slicers online. They target young people who want to escape middle America and drink coconuts all day while working on the beach. But the reality is you can't work on a laptop on the beach, and most of the money in drop shipping is in selling drop shipping courses." And this is a big problem. This is basically hitting the nail on the head as to what I've personally seen in the digital nomad community, which is also why we've decided to stay away from the digital nomad community and instead focus on the remote work movement and industry. Because for us, being a digital nomad, at least for me, was about just working remotely and actually having a job and working remotely at that job. But it's turned into a multi-level marketing, internet marketing, drop shipping course, coaching, kind of hodgepodge of stuff that I don't really want to be associated with. And it's something that is really problematic for me, because I would love to be associated with the digital nomad community once again, but I think that there are a lot of big problems that are coming up inside of that community, and I want to get into it. So as I said, we don't have any talks about being a digital nomad at Running Remote, with the exception of Ken Weary, who is basically the ops manager at Hotjar, 8-figure remote SaaS company that has really been fantastic and has grown by leaps and bounds over the last few years. Ken is a legit digital nomad. He's been doing it for 15 to 20 years. He's got 2 kids, he's got a wife, and he travels the world, but he's productive and he knows what he's doing. For anyone that's really looking for the how-tos on how to be a successful digital nomad, I would look to Ken. I'll link him down below. But for me, that's something that a lot of these young digital nomads that I see whenever I go to talks or when I run a meetup in a particular city, we always have these new guys that kind of show up and say, well, I've quit my job and I'm now living in Chiang Mai, Bali, Playa del Carmen, Medellin, all of these different places. And then I ask them, well, what are you actually spending your time doing and how are you going to make money? And they don't really have a plan because they've been told by the Instagram, multi-level marketing, 4-hour work week guys on the beach that they can do it and it's incredibly easy, when it's actually very difficult and there is a very focused process for doing this, and it's not something that everyone can necessarily do. It requires a lot of time and energy. So what I've decided to do is, instead of actually just telling you about that information, there are plenty of people out there that are giving out fantastic information. I might actually be able to link to some of them down below, but what I'm gonna tell you instead is what you need to use as your own personal lens to identify whether or not the information that you're collecting about digital nomads is something that you should take to heart. So I've come up with 5 warning signs of a bullshit digital nomad. So number 1, where do they actually make money? Do they sell courses or are they a life coach? If they are, I would stay away from them. The reality is that most unskilled work or non-skilled work like social media management, drop shipping, agency work, all this kind of stuff, it really isn't that profitable. And the courses are actually a lot more profitable than the work itself. So a lot of these guys, what they'll end up doing is they learn a little bit about how to do these things and then they sell you the courses, and about 90% of their income comes from courses, but not actually from the work that they're doing. I can tell you right up front, I mean, I see that as quite unethical in my opinion. The only time that I would say that, let's say, getting coaching or getting a course from somebody would be okay is if they're being very clear about where their revenue is coming from, where their money is coming from, and what they're doing with it. So maybe they're giving some to charity as an example. In our case, with running remote, you can see all of our P&Ls for every single year, and you can see how much money we've lost, and you can see how much money we've made, and you probably will know from that that we don't make any money off of this conference. For us, we're really just interested in getting the word out about remote work. We're very passionate about it, as opposed to making Benjamins
here in my garage
off the backs of digital nomads, which I see as pretty. Number 2. Do they tell you that you can literally live any combination of like living on the beach in a villa with teams of servants, with bikini girls by the pool? If so, I would stay away from them. For me, what I usually do is I work in places like this, and even though I do go to the beach from time to time, I can tell you from personal experience, I was in Playa del Carmen for 3 months in the winter, and I think I went to the beach maybe 4 times out of those 3 months. The vast majority of the time, I was in a co-working space looking at this computer all day long, typing away, doing work from around 10 a.m. till about 8 p.m. at night. I just did it in a warm place and I had tacos. That's the only difference. For anyone that's communicating something different from that, they're basically lying to you, and some of them may be able to get away with it for, let's say, 2, 3, 4 months, but long term, it will catch up to them. You need to build a proper business if you're going to become a digital nomad or work for a legitimate business. Number 3, do they work primarily through their social media? Do they have like jets, supercars, mansions? Do they put that up on their social media? If they've done any of that stuff, number 1, they rented all that stuff. No one actually buys jet that's selling you an internet marketing course. There just isn't that type of money. And I'd stay away from them. I think that they're all trying to basically tell you, they're trying to interrupt your focus from doing what you need to do, which is either working in a position that allows you to work remotely, which is fantastic, and you should be looking for those types of positions, or you're trying to build your own business remotely, and you need to be able to make sure that these people are not distracting you from what you should be doing, which is getting down and putting in 10 hours a day of work. Number 4, anyone who's generally selling you their information, I would generally stay away from them. If you have a question, I'd be happy to actually answer your question right down below in the comments about anything connected to building remote teams or being a digital nomad. And you can also go throughout this entire YouTube channel and you can look at all the content that we have. It's 100% free. We don't have any type of paid paywall for special content just for special people. It's all free and it's open to you if you want to be able to consume it. So you really need to stay away from digital nomads that are trying to sell you this type of information. I think that selling information is somewhat unethical and long-term is not very profitable. What you should be doing is building a long-term business, solving a problem for a customer, and making sure that that customer is continuously happy and continuously paying you for your product or service. Most of these internet marketing courses are generally just a cash grab, a quick ATM, get in, get out, make 100 grand, and then hopefully live for a year or two before I have to make some other internet marketing course. So stay away from those guys, focus on the people that are really there to be able to help you, like me, and like pretty much everybody that has spoken at Running Remote that has given their time, and you can watch their content for free right on this channel. Number 5, which was a relatively new one for me, I didn't know about this until about a year ago, anyone who makes you feel less because you have a job. So a lot of digital nomads, and I didn't know this, who have jobs are not really seen as very legit inside of the digital nomad community. So someone like Ken, as an example, who's an incredibly legit digital nomad, he wouldn't be seen as someone who's legitimate inside of the DN community because he's not running his own business. He's probably making way more than the vast majority of people that quote unquote run their own business in the digital nomad industry, but for some reason he's not seen as legitimate. When we personally polled the Running Remote company owners that go to Running Remote, approximately a little bit more than 4% of remote first companies that attended actually hired digital nomads, which blew me away because we actually have about 10% of the people that we hire are digital nomads. So if you want to make a lot more money and you want to actually be a lot happier and you want to be able to work wherever you want, whenever you want, generally getting a job in a remote first company is probably the best way to be able to do that. And so doing that instead of Instagramming and doing social media marketing and selling an internet marketing course for $20,000 a year, I would personally choose to work for a really cool company like Hotjar or Time Doctor or Doist or Buffer or any of these other types of tech companies, because we're always trying to find talent and we are digital nomad friendly. So I'm glad I got this off my chest. I'm really hopeful for the community. I don't want to get anger in the comments, even though I bet you there's probably going to be people that are just like, you don't know what the hell you're talking about, you're full of shit, blah, blah, blah. Well, listen, put your comment down, that's totally cool, I understand it. I'll try to answer as many of those questions as humanly possible, but deep down, I believe that the digital nomad community needs to really change their ways if they want to be included in the larger remote work movement. I personally believe that there could be millions of digital nomads around the world, but as of right now, it's fundamentally the same kind of thing as teaching English as a second language 20 years ago. It's something that you do for 1 to 2 years and then you drop off. And for me, I think that that's really a shame. It could be something that you could be doing for decades, but we need to be able to get the spammers out of this type of community and make sure that people are brought down the right path towards success versus failure. So thanks for listening to me. If you really like this video, why don't you give it a thumbs up? I bet you I'm gonna get a ton of thumbs downs on this one, so I'd really appreciate your support. And if you really like this video, why don't you subscribe to this channel? It's free. And we talk about building and scaling remote teams all day long. So with that said, I'll see you in the next video.